It's time to talk about the important issues for the natural state, and there's only one place to turn for that. Opportunity Arkansas's Nic Horton. You can find Nic's work at opportunityarkansas.org.
And welcome back to First News. It is the Wednesday edition, and now joining us talking about the state of politics here in Arkansas, plus some thoughts on the DNC going on this week as well, as the CEO and founder of Opportunity Arkansas, Nic Horton. And Nic, welcome back to the show. How are you this morning?
Well, I'm okay. I have to say, Toby, it's been a long week, and I got a bone to pick with you.
Okay.
Your show is way too early in the morning.
Wait, you've got kids, Nic. You got to get up and get those kids to school. What do you mean this is too early?
I know. Well, I've been out west all week, and I've been traveling, and I got the cobwebs today.
Yeah, you got the jet lag going on now. So,
but hey, it's good to be with you.
Fully understand. And Nic, trust me, between you and me, you're not the only one complaining about this show being too early. So that's for sure. So, Nic, I wanted to get into so John Kirk, who's a UA Little Rock history professor, said in the DemGaz recently, and I quote him here: "The LEARNS Act directly borrows from some of the legislation that was passed in the 1950s to avoid school desegregation." What did you think of that comment from him about the LEARNS Act? Is he being accurate at all?
I mean, it was just stunning and shocking, and it reminds me, we see this with the left really every time that they've at the point at which they're out of arguments, right?
Yep.
It's always just racism, and you talk about the LEARNS Act, you talk about education freedom, and certainly we've documented this a lot at opportunityarkansas.org and on this show, that every time that there's been an opportunity for the left to put it on the ballot, to try to derail it in court, at every turn they have failed to derail the LEARNS Act. They're losing the messaging war. Polling is off the charts and continues to go up, the support for the LEARNS Act and education freedom in Arkansas.
Yeah.
So that was my first thought when I saw it, is okay, like, they're out of arguments, they're out of tactics. This is all they have left. But no, it's completely outrageous. It is just it's complete fabrication, and I think it's incredibly offensive to kids across the state of Arkansas, in Little Rock, from Little Rock to Texarkana to Jonesboro, all across the state, that have been trapped in failing schools, that have not had an opportunity to find better schools because of either income or zip code or whatever it may be, and to say that, well, this is only happening because Republicans are racist, and these kids shouldn't be getting these opportunities basically because of segregation. I think it's just completely ridiculous, and it's incredibly offensive, frankly.
Yeah, no, I was kind of stunned on that. I know you've been out of town this week, and so I don't know if there is an update here. But obviously, there's a lawsuit that's against the LEARNS Act right now, moving through the court system. The last we'd heard, there was a motion to dismiss it, and that was denied. And so the case moving forward, is there any updates on that this week? Is that moving forward, or is it still waiting for the next court date to come up?
I don't think that there are any updates on that yet. I think we're kind of still in a holding pattern there. So we'll wait and see. But again, this is just, once again, the left has no good arguments. They have no policy arguments. They can't do anything or say anything to convince the people of Arkansas that education freedom and the LEARNS Act are a bad thing. And so, just like they've done to President Trump, and just like they always do, they're just going to try to rely on the court system to try to bail them out. They lost last summer in the court system, and I think they'll lose again.
Yeah, another thing that you and I have talked about in the past is the Board of Corrections, and obviously, especially to start this year, it was in quite some turmoil with not able to figure out who's running it, and people stepping in and stepping down, and it was just a complete mess. But now we have the story that the Board of Corrections is moving forward with adding beds to several different prisons across the state. This will help alleviate the crowding that goes on in the county jails, which obviously creates havoc as well. But 608 new beds being added across the state. My question here, Nic, is why now? What got them on the same page with the governor and now moving forward with expanding beds in our Department of Corrections?
Well, optimistically, like if silver lining, best case scenario, we could say, well, it just took them a while to realize that this was a good idea, and so they've decided to do it. The cynical view, which I think is probably the correct one, is that it had to be their idea. And they didn't want the governor, they didn't want the legislature, they didn't want Joe Porfiry, the former Secretary of Corrections, who they completely, defrauded and derailed and fired completely unfairly and wrongfully. They didn't want them to get the credit. They wanted it had to be their idea. And I think, frankly, I'm really glad you brought this up, because I think that right there, to me, is the best example in a nutshell of the Board of Corrections, the way they operate, the way they do business, and the problem that we have in Arkansas with the board, that they are in control. They are going to be the ones to decide. It's going to be their idea at their time, in their way, and nobody else is going to tell them what to do. And we've documented, again, going back a year almost now, with you on the show and at OpportunityArkansas.org, that this is an unelectable, an unelected, unaccountable board with no term limits, 7-year terms. They can't be impeached, and they will tell you they don't think they're constrained by the legislature. They don't think they're subject to state laws that they disagree with, because they're this super constitutional board that can do whatever they want. This is going to really continue to be an issue until the legislature and the state of Arkansas decides that we're going to fix this once and for all. But it is infuriating to see now, after months and months and really years of them refusing to open beds and to do what was necessary to keep Arkansans safe, that they just decided, yeah, okay, we'll go ahead.
Yeah, well, look, it's a good thing that it's happening, that's for sure, because this is something that's needed in our state, especially when you think about how crowded the county jails are, and obviously this will help alleviate a lot of that, and so it's good that it's happening now, but unfortunate the route that it took to get to the final conclusion, at least on expanding beds, and obviously there'll be more things that come on this as well. As we're talking with Nic Horton this morning, he's the CEO and founder of Opportunity Arkansas. Nick, one other thing, this week we've had the Democrat National Convention going on in Chicago. Any thoughts on what you've seen so far from Biden on Monday in the middle of the night to Obama the Obamas last night? And of course, Harrison Walz still coming up on the docket this week. But has anything stood out to you? The one thing I was pointing out this morning was they're sure very good at putting up fences around the DNC, and they're on their third fence right now that they're wrapping around that place, and then requiring IDs to go in. And so they don't want a fence down at the southern border, and they don't want IDs when it comes to voting, but when it comes to coming to watch him give a speech, they're all on top of these things. And so, but any thoughts from the DNC from you this week?
I have no thoughts. I think it's just, again, it's just the same old thing, and they're trotting out the Obamas and the Clintons and all of these has-beens, frankly. And here's Kamala Harris saying, overnight, she's the nominee, and all of a sudden, she's just going to continue to pretend, I guess, that she is not the vice president and that she has no attachment to the Biden administration and all of the crazy, horrible policy outcomes that we've seen over the last 4 years. And, you kind of saw this, actually. I remember, 10 years ago, 16 years ago now, when President Obama was coming on the scene. Change, hope, change. And then the minute he got elected, his entire cabinet was filled with former Clinton officials, all the Democrat establishment. And it was like, wait a minute, I thought something was going to be different. And I think you're seeing that a little bit at the DNC this week, where Kamala Harris has come out, forward, new era, all of these fancy slogans. And at the end of the day, it's the same song, different verse. It's the same people. It's the same bad ideas. And, it's kind of a freak show, if you want me to just be really honest. I think these are people who want to control every single aspect of our lives. They stand up on a national stage, on the international media, and say, we're for freedom. Tim Walz is going out talking about, mind your own damn business. I've seen him say that at like 12 different rallies now. And this is a guy who like sent out law enforcement to shoot people with paintball guns if they left their houses during COVID.
Right. They're out past the curfew. You get popped with a paintball.
This is a lunatic.
Yeah.
I mean, he is a lefty lunatic, and I think they're running out of credibility if they have any left. And I've watched as little as the convention as possible, Toby, and that's kind of my plan for the rest of the week.
Yeah, I mean, you're with me. I mean, I hear the highlights that come out of it and the different video clips that they send out. But Michelle Obama saying hope is coming back. Well, we had no hope. This was your administration. The side that you like. This was your administration the last 3.5 years. Where was the hope?
Your vice president is the current president. I mean,
right. I mean, yeah, it's quite a weird dynamic, and nobody points it out in the national media at this point. So that's disappointing as well. But of course, you can see Nic and Opportunity Arkansas, all their work at opportunityarkansas.org is the website. Nic, we always enjoy when you come on the show with us each and every week, and we'll do it again next week. But thanks for stopping by today, especially after your long flight.
I appreciate it. Let's do it again.